See what I'm doing here? I'm going to go splash myself with some of that nice Lake Erie water there. My name is Brett Joseph, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the Green New Deal Coalition. We are a locally organized, nonpartisan group of organizations and citizen activists. And like everyone here, we came together because we are not willing to sit on the sidelines, watching in horror as the legacy of decades of climate inaction by our government comes down like a hammer on this generation. Today, on the eve of the UN Climate Action Summit, we stand together to make history and mark the turn of an era. Today, we strike, along with people all around the world who have turned out on main streets, public halls and plazas, roadsides and parks, and in public squares all around the world. Today, we deliver a simple and unmistakable message. The time for business as usual is over.
Yeah!
The time for bold action to curb emissions, cool the climate, and secure a green, prosperous future for all. That time is now. Right now.
Yeah!
We are not willing to simply gaze in shock and awe as corrupt public officials and their patrons in the extractive, take, make, waste industries orchestrate a slowly unfolding genocide, a rapidly unfolding ecocide. It's a conspiracy to rob us of our future. Not while fossil fuel lobbyists return to Washington and Columbus again and again to write their own laws, granting themselves more and more regulatory waivers, tax exemptions, and subsidies to convert to windfall profits. No. Not while laws intended to protect public health and the environment are being routinely rolled back or perversely applied to conceal harms while silencing the voices of scientists and citizens alike. No, not while the intricately balanced Earth system to sustain all life are being pushed every day towards limits and thresholds from which there may be no return. Because climate change directly affects the security of our food supply. It's about whether more and more people are displaced as climate refugees, setting the stage for more regional conflict and overwhelming our capacity for humanitarian aid. It's about how many extreme weather events will devastate our coastal regions and our western forests. It's about erosion, acidification, and other threats to the integrity of our critical infrastructure, and about our vulnerability to new pandemics and public health risks. It's about an apocalyptic rate of species extinction, which is happening now and undermining our ecological life support systems, depriving humanity of essential sources of life-saving medical discoveries. It is about more coastal flooding, water and food shortages, denuded forests and toxic cities, increasing social inequality across the board, all while compromising our national and global security in ways we can hardly imagine. So what do we mean by this call for bold action? What specifically must we do? We have no time to waste. We must respond with a set of policy-driven solutions that is equal to the crisis at hand. And here's the good news. The Green New Deal is that very response.
Yeah!
As its title suggests, it is a strategic framework for mass mobilization to turn crisis into opportunity and to save our future. Within this framework, we will revitalize our economy with targeted public and private investments in renewable energy and green infrastructure. We will protect the frontline and vulnerable communities, and will provide measures to enable equitable participation in the American promise to build wealth in our communities from the bottom up. These inclusive and smart investments in infrastructure, technology, and human resources will act as a lever to effect a fair and just transition to net zero greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah!
All while creating millions of high-paid, high-wage jobs, ensuring prosperity and economic security and a healthy environment for generations to come. So, is this ambitious? Yes. But since when has being ambitious become a negative in the United States of America? Is it unprecedented? Not really. In the 1930s, we unified to bring our country out of the Great Depression and institute the first New Deal with a just social contract and bold investments. Later, we unified to face the global threat of Nazism and Japanese imperialism, meeting a generational challenge with a will to fight for all future generations. And right here at home, we have marched and we have gone on strike to secure fair wages and rights for all working Americans. In this way, we have unified to fight Jim Crow, gender discrimination, and countless other injustices. And again today, each time disaster strikes, whether natural or man-made, we as a people prove again and again that we can come together to grieve, to heal, to rebuild as a natural human response. But my friends, every bold initiative has its detractors. Because change, even necessary and inevitable, can for some be a scary prospect. Of course there are those who would exploit this fear, denying the reality of the climate threat or recasting it as a convenient wedge issue to divide us, while serving narrow partisan interests that are out of touch with the needs of the American people. I know I am not alone in saying I am tired of this foray into cynicism, distraction, and alternative realities. It is time to listen to the scientists, to summon courage in confronting this common threat as a unified people. Friends, we are the reality check. We are the antidote to the cynicism, the nihilism, the denial, and the deception. We are the antidote to the stalling tactics and divisiveness. We know the crisis we face is not a crisis of leadership. It is a crisis of the absence of leadership. So it is time to put fear and division aside and embrace a new story, a new set of guiding narratives suitable for this moment in history. The old worn-out tropes will no longer serve. This is not about jobs versus the environment. This is not about humans versus nature, science versus religion, young versus old, north versus south. This is not about media viewership or the last polling data. Are you with me here? The Green New Deal is an invitation to write the story that our grandchildren will tell. The story about how we acted when we had the chance to shape and improve conditions of life on Earth in the second half of this century and beyond. This story will be told in many languages and in many ways, but it is, in its essence, a story of planetary limits and the human capacity for adaptive change in the face of those limits. So to sum up, the moment is now, the stakes couldn't be higher, the pathway forward is clear, we have the means in our hands. This is the defining challenge of our society and our world in the 21st century. And virtually every other economic, social, and environmental issue is tied to this one. So if you showed up today because you had a small flame of hope to guide your way, take heart and look around you. Our collective will is as bright as the sun itself. We will not relent. Thank you.